guys have had the install, the video. You know this Houston team. You just played them. What's like the number one topic on your mind? Like you must do to win this series.
Turnovers and defensive rebounding. They're a team that wins games by missing shots. That's what it comes down to. And if we keep them out of transition and make them play in the half court, it becomes tough on them.
You are involved also in that defensive rebound. You are obviously put up big rebound totals. You just go try to find a big guy to put a body on. What's in your mindset when you're playing teams that have big centers that rebound well? What are you thinking?
Well, I think for me and Moses, with that first group guarding Van Vliet and Green, those two don't really crash the glass as much. So it's how can me and Moses help, keep Klay Thompson off the glass, Şengün off the glass, Brooks off the glass. So I think we just got to help in there. And then it becomes tough when they play Adams and Şengün together. But it's just a collective effort from all five of us.
Brandon, what's the key to offsetting the Rockets' physicality defensively, especially the way that they're pounding and even holding on to Steph?
Spacing, cutting, transition. They're really good when they can score and set up their defense in half court because they play with so much pressure. But just getting to space, understanding what we're trying to get to, and not just being in such like miscellaneous action for most of the game, I think we'll be fine.
Since you've been here, how have you seen Steph adjust to things like that? I mean, whether it's in real time but especially being able to have a series like this, how do you think he's going to be able to adjust game to game and use that experience that he has? Yeah,
I think he knows that some games it'll be his night to do his thing and score 40. Other times it'll be his night to get 15 assists. And I think him and Jimmy have that same mindset. And so they know it takes a whole collective group out there to win a series and a game. So I think he's going to do whatever the game calls for. Every game is going to be a little bit different in how teams guard us and what they try to do defensively. But I think, he's been through this millions of times. So he's always going to make the adjustment that's right for us to win.
Brandon, how do you sort of reflect on the arc of your season with some of the early struggles, some of the injuries, and obviously played a lot better these last couple months? And I know you and I talked the other day about Jimmy's impact on the whole lineup, but how much has Jimmy, in your mind, helped unlock your game?
Yeah, like I told you the other day, he's a pass-first star, which is pretty rare in this league. There's only a few of them that really enjoy passing and getting their teammates involved. And so to have that, it became a lot easier for the rest of us just in terms of our shot quality. And then you see a few easy ones go down, and then the tough ones become easier as well. So I think it's been great for us, and I think he's done a great job of including everybody and not just being it about himself. And so that's all you could ask for in a superstar.
In one related question, Draymond very memorably spoke earlier this year about how much pressure you put on yourself and how he was trying to get you to stop doing that. How has that played a role in your surge here these last couple months? Have you relaxed, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, I told Monty yesterday I don't put any pressure on myself. I think the pressure comes from guys that aren't prepared and that aren't ready for the moment. And I think if there's no expectation for yourself and you don't put an expectation on what you can accomplish, there's no pressure when it comes to like making intermission shots in these type of games, these type of moments.
Just along those lines, Brandon, it does seem like you're finding your shot at the right times and just in a groove. Has everything sort of with Jimmy settled down for everybody in their roles and when to do what, so to speak? I
think so. Just based on our combinations, you kind of understand, at least for me in particular, I know what to expect given who's on the floor, whether I'm with Steph and Jimmy or just Jimmy, because I know I'm going to be on the floor when Steph's off the floor. So knowing who I'm going to be out there with, what things as a point guard I can run for whom, and if we want to exploit a matchup is something that I've learned and kind of grown into since we've got Jimmy. And it's become way easier just in terms of flow offense, and it's not as much miscellaneous stuff like I'd mentioned.
And Steve was just mentioning how poise and composure will be crucial in this series. Did he bring that up today at all? Or, there's a lot of history between some of the players on both sides, from Gary getting his elbow fractured some years ago on the foul by Brooks and things like that. Is that a topic?
Yeah, he's mentioned it yesterday and today in our film sessions, and it's the same thing. I mean, in the regular season, we had a couple 20-point leads there in Houston, and then they came back because of the pressure. The crowd got into it, and so it's just being poised and composed, and when things aren't going right, what is something that we can get back to that'll really help us. And I think that comes not turning the ball over and defensive rebounding.
Hi, Brandon. First time in the playoffs. How are you feeling? How's the prep been this week?
I'm excited, filled with gratitude that I'm in this position. Being a starter on a playoff team, nothing more you can really ask for in your second year. And I'm just happy that I can make a positive impact, and I'm glad that we have 4 games to win.
When you think back to training camp, you guys have had so many different quote-unquote X factors throughout this year. What did you expect out of Guy Santos compared to what he's done for you guys this season now?
I think you never want to set an expectation of a teammate or a player, what they can and can't do. You understand what he's good at and what he's not good at, and that's everybody on the team. And what you could see from training camp to now is just the competitiveness, the grit, kind of similar to some of the things I used to do last year. You could just see that, and then when he's playing out there, he just understands like that's his role, and he really buys into that. And so Steve's kind of had no other choice but to play him in moments where, we need him like that. And I think this series is going to be big for him, coming in, helping us rebound against bigs, and then getting us extra possessions, which, usually end up in step threes, which kind of gets him going off offensive rebound or an easy bucket for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think last game, 5 minutes, 3 offensive rebounds. How much can you guys feed off of the energy in real time on the court that he gives?
Yeah, our points per possession when we get offensive rebounds is, through the roof. And so any extra possession we can get, it's going to benefit us, especially against a defensive team like Houston.
Brandon, Janie referenced the history. I realize you weren't here at the time, but the Warriors played the Rockets 4 times in 5 years in that stretch where they went to the finals every year. Do you recall watching any of those games? And there's some memorable sort of duels with Harden and Steph and Chris Paul and Dwight Howard. Do you have any memories of watching that as a teenager?
I do. Watched a bunch of those guys play. Obviously, James was in his prime during that time, and Chris Paul was over there too. And so watching those guys battle, and the Warriors having the team they did with KD was pretty special to watch. But I think the cool thing about Houston is their grittiness, and to see their fan base and their support kind of buy into that grittiness. It's a lot like playing in Memphis too.
You think Kuminga could have an impact in the series?
I do. I think he should stay ready. I think he's been an ultimate professional about it. I think you look at the game we won here without Steph and Dre. I think he had 33 that game and had a really big impact. And so we all know he could do it. So I expect him to have a good series and make a positive impact.
Cool.
Hi. After going through film and game plan install, what do you view as the keys to winning the series?
They're very athletic team. I think the biggest thing is playing the half court, can't turn the ball over, don't make the risky plays, don't go for home run plays, but hit singles, as we say. I think those are the most important keys.
This will be your first playoff series. Have any of the veterans had any words of wisdom, advice for you?
I talked to Dre the other day. I mean, biggest message, I think he said it earlier too, it's just like it's the same game, just the moment got bigger, but it's the same game. I think that's what he said.
How do you guys adjust to their physicality?
I think we're a pretty physical team ourselves. Like, maybe we've been a little undersized throughout this year, but we have the experience, and I think we play hard. So I don't think it's anything we haven't seen before.
Quentin, Draymond made a point the other night to say that Trace got up and gave you a spot on the bench. How did that whole sequence go, and what does that say just about the way this team works well together?
Yeah, I mean, Me and Trace are obviously really close. Honestly, like we play the same. We play the center position together, and but he's been very supportive of me, and as I've been with him at the start of the year, and it wasn't any. I think I was just gassed. I played the longest stint of basketball I played here. I think I played 10 minutes straight, and I just asked Trace if I could sit there. I had to ask something to Draymond, and he was sitting next to him, so I just asked him if I could sit there. I didn't mean for him to get up and stand. I thought there was another seat available. Maybe that wasn't the case. But yeah, I don't think it was anything crazy. But yeah, it's just, I mean, we're a very united team, I feel like, and kind of do those things for each other sometimes.
When it comes to rebounding, these last couple games, you guys have had a big deficit in the rebounding. How much is that just hustle and going for loose balls and crashing the board, some of the basics to make sure that you can corral some of those key rebounds?
Yeah, I think it came from the Clippers game. Though that game we lost, and I think we left some 50-50 balls on the table, also including myself. So after that game, the main emphasis was just, get on the floor, box out your guy, and go after every ball. And I thought our last game, especially, we did a really good job, and you see it in the results.
Quinn, Brandon obviously never lacks confidence, but it seems like he's played even better. He's played much better, clearly, the last month or two. Have you seen any added confidence or any just sort of how this stretch, how he sort of handled this stretch and what it says about where his role going forward in this playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, he's played amazing, I think. I think the biggest thing is he's not doubting his decisions on the floor beforehand. Like every shot that was open, he would kind of overthink it. Should I shoot it? Should I drive it? And now everything he does is just decisive. Either he drives the ball, he passes the one more, or he shoots it. And he's been shooting it really well. I mean, I've seen him in the gym. He puts in a lot of hours. He's been playing really well for us. And besides that, I think he's a really good defensive player for us, taking a lot of charges. So, yeah, he's just been great.
You use the word decisive. Is that something you guys talk about? I mean, as young players in this setting with 3 future Hall of Famers, is it hard sometimes to be decisive, or how do you kind of get to it?
Sure, because you might have an open shot, but you're also on the court with Steph Curry, you know what I'm saying, and Jimmy and all these guys. So we have to find our balance to look for our own and then also play with those guys. But sometimes the best way to help those guys is to also look for yourself. Like, you got to be a threat out there. And if you always are looking for Steph or Jimmy or Draymond to pass the ball to, it kind of stops the offense. So for him to shoot the ball like that, like he's been doing, I think it opens up the floor, and it opens up the floor for Jimmy and Steph.
Quentin, you're someone who enjoys showing some emotion, having some fun with the crowd, and Guy Santos is like that too. We saw how he was with his big 3-point play last game. What can you say about the energy that he brings to the floor and the way that you guys feed off of that as well?
Maybe me and Guy were just international, you know. We're a little different upbringing. Like, I mean, you need it, and Steph is probably, you know, he does it too in his own way, how he gets the crowd involved. And me and Guy are more so just, we don't have that swagger, but we're just raw energy out there, you know. And I think you need some of that, especially, you know. And then for Guy, sometimes it's in shorter stints, and the way he came in Memphis and grabbed 2 offensive rebounds that, you know, those weren't rebounds that belonged to him, but he just forced his way in there. And, you know, maybe I'll make a shot or do something. Like, I think it's important you have some guys that play with some emotion and get the crowd involved.
When it comes to playing against Houston, a lot's been made of their physicality. But when it comes to how they guard Steph, are they more physical than other teams, or is that just kind of how almost every team tries to guard Steph? What do you think about just how much they grab or physical with them?
I mean, I've played with Steph now throughout the season, and I think I've never seen a guy being guarded like that by everybody. But what I think they do have is the size and athleticism to back up that aggressive play. I mean, but I will. What I do know is that they're not going to hold Steph to 3 points again. I know that for a fact. So it's nothing he hasn't seen before, and he'll be up for the challenge.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Steve, I know you've talked about this in the past, but so much focus on Steph getting fouled or getting grabbed, or how much do you tell your team about, like, we know this is coming, or I assume they know it's coming? How braced are you for, okay, we might have to let the officials know about this? Just how big a thing is it for you, knowing that Houston has kind of a history of doing this, like, specifically against Steph?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason teams have to be physical against Steph. I mean, he's the greatest shooter and mover of all time in this game, and so we would try to guard him the exact same way. Everybody's going to try to put their best athletes on him, be physical with him. The game this year in general, in the NBA game, is more physical. They're letting more stuff go, and that's all part of the equation. It's not anything we worry about, or we just talk about it. Like, here's our strategy. Here's how they're going to guard us. Ime basically said it after the last game. We're going to foul, and they can't call all of them. And that's there's a long history of that in the NBA. When you go back to Chuck Daly, Pat Riley, there's truth to that. The refs can't call every foul. And by the way, we're a very physical team too. And we've been very good defensively in the playoffs by playing a physical game. So I welcome all of that. The series will unfold, and teams will complain about the officiating. We will, they will. It's all part of it.
You've been keen on the past as far as not defending without fouling, but I mean, do you relay that message as far as physicality, make the refs adjust to us also, just like the Rockets are going to make the refs adjust to them?
Our message, we don't really message that. What we teach is defend without fouling, and the way you teach that is you work on the technique. No reach. You have to show your hands in the modern NBA, because if you do that, the offensive guy grabs your arm, and we haven't figured that out yet as a league to just call that an offensive foul. So until we do, we got to teach our guys, to show their hands, and everyone around the league has to do the same thing. But like I said, the league's adjusted this year. They're allowing more physicality. They're not calling as many of they used to call it illegal guarding position last year, where you're sliding, you don't reach, there's a little contact, the offensive player flails his arms. Last year, those were free throws. This year, they're letting those go. I think it's been great for the game. So you just have to teach the way the game is officiated, and it's a huge factor, defending without fouling, because we all know the difficulty of scoring on any NBA team off after free throws when they can set their defense up.
There have been a number of quote-unquote Steph stoppers in the past, and it seems like he always has an answer for them eventually, especially throughout a series. What makes him so great at adjusting to that and learning within a series like this?
Well, it's his ability both on and off the ball that separates him from any player who's ever played that position, any shooter. There's never been anybody who can shoot like Steph does, off the dribble, off pin downs, in transition, every which way. And so there's a fluidity and a motion and a beauty to Steph's game that comes from understanding the movement and the spacing on the court, and coordinating that spacing with his teammates. And if he does that well in concert with his teammates, he's going to get some openings. And with Steph, all it takes is one to get him going.
Hi, Steve. I was curious if you could reflect on sort of the arc of Brandon's season and what you guys need from him in this series. Obviously started slowly, had his injuries, and then really came on the last couple months. And I was just looking at his log the last few weeks. I mean, huge games against the Lakers and the Nuggets, good game against the Clippers on Sunday, and then obviously didn't play that well Tuesday. I'm curious how he's evolved this season and what you need from him in this series.
Yeah, I just think development is never linear for anybody. It's there's always dips and ebbs and flows, however you want to describe it. And I think what happened with Brandon early on is we were loaded roster-wise with a lot of guys who could play. DeAnthony Melton was going to be our starting two-guard. And was fantastic in that role, and then obviously tore his ACL. But we had so many guys who could play that it was hard for Brandon and hard for us, frankly, to really just say, here's 30 minutes. And, he had to earn that. And early in the season, I think he was pressing. So he really was missing shots, getting frustrated, and not flourishing in the stuff that he does, which is to read the game and kind of run through closeouts and move the ball. And we were trying to play him directly on the ball quite a bit because we lost Chris Paul, so Brandon became our backup point guard. And I think that role is tougher than the one of being a combo guard and playing off the ball and making plays as a secondary ball handler instead of the primary one. So all of that was part of the adjustment. When we made the trade for Jimmy, everything changed. It clarified his spot in the starting lineup. He is the secondary ball handler when Jimmy's out there and Steph's not, which is a perfect role for him. He can handle it, get it to Jimmy. Jimmy creates the advantage. Now all of a sudden, pass to the weak side, Brandon's running right through the catch, getting to the rim, making plays. So a different role because of different personnel. And once he found his stride, the jump shot followed.
Steve, I know you had stressed a couple games ago just the need for getting those loose balls, getting those balls off, keeping them off the offensive glass. Did you see improvements Tuesday night? It seemed like you guys won some of those loose balls and some of those rebounds. But again, probably that will be a priority.
Be a huge factor.
Okay.
Yeah, in this series. Houston's one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league. They're very athletic. They're good at getting loose balls. We have to have that same mentality that we had against Memphis. We got away from that against the Clippers. For whatever reason, we were not attacking the loose balls and the long rebounds, and that's a must in this series.
In this series, you've got Steven Adams and Draymond have a history. Dylan Brooks has a history with you guys. Tari Eason has a history. When there are all these tensions bubbling in a series that's probably going to be very, competitive, do you have to have a strategy in terms of discipline, mentality?
I think it's more than anything, it's the reminder that, poise and composure is going to play a huge role in this. I think that's maybe the number one factor for me of getting the 4 days before game one. We have been in a sprint since the Miami road trip, which was at least 3 weeks ago. From that road trip on, we have not been able to get our feet on the ground, just the way the schedule is unfolded and the importance of each game. I feel like winning that Memphis game allowed us to get our feet on the ground. 4 straight days at home. I think Draymond in particular will be rested and ready, and he needed that, frankly. The frustration that I saw with him the last few games as we're fighting like crazy and he's playing the 5, battling Zubats, battling Şengün, battling, Jokic, you name it. The emotion and the energy Draymond has to put forth is incredibly draining. And when he's tired, when he's fatigued, that's when he's most vulnerable, frankly. And he knows that. He and I have talked about it. So the rest, the preparation that's going into this, I think will help all of us be composed and poised, because that's what it takes in the playoffs.
Steve, early this season when you were playing everybody, you were a big proponent of pace. You wanted the team to play at a certain speed. And since Jimmy's come aboard, it's almost like you guys have two different identities out there. What are the pros and cons of having a team that can play both speeds, or that kind of has to play at both speeds?
Well, I look at it as, our new identity. It's not two separate identities. It's the combination of the ISO and the movement. And when you look at the numbers, our pace hasn't really dramatically changed since we got Jimmy. Our passes per game are about the same. Our assist totals are about the same. So what's different is how we're generating the advantage. Every team tries to generate an advantage offensively. With most teams, it's high pick and roll with your best player. We do a lot of that with Steph. With Jimmy, it's ISO. So we've become an ISO team to generate the advantage. But the beauty of it is Jimmy's such a good passer and reader that once he generates the advantage and moves it, now everything we've been doing for 10 years kicks in, and that's when the movement starts. And that's where Guy is amazing, and Gary, and they feel it and they read it, and they're constantly screening for Steph and trying to get him open. And so it's a new identity, but it's really very similar to what we have done for years, because it feeds into that once we play off of Jimmy's ISO.
So it seems like when your offense does get static, it almost looks like sometimes like Jimmy's waiting for somebody to move. And how frustrating is it when you know that's what Jimmy needs and guys are not moving? Well,
it's different. It's because it's a combination of the spacing first and then the movement, and we're really dependent on Jimmy to create the advantage, and we don't want to cut into his space either. So there's definitely a feel to all of this, and that's why you need the spacing, and that's why we've got to keep practicing and keep working on this stuff. But look, it's worked. I mean, we're a top 5 offense since we got him. Thank you.
Series preview: Warriors vs. Rockets, April 20th, 2025. The Golden State Warriors are undefeated in playoff series against the Houston Rockets under the trio of Steve Kerr, Stephen Curry, and Draymond Green, a perfect 4-0. Now they're set to meet Houston once again, this time in the Western Conference quarterfinals, tipping off Sunday night in Houston at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. How we got here. The 7th-seeded Warriors enter the playoffs as one of the league's most dangerous teams. Since acquiring Jimmy Butler III, Golden State has gone 24-7. The third-best record in the NBA over that stretch. They secured their spot in the playoffs by edging out the Grizzlies in a tight play-in battle, winning 121-116 behind a combined 75 points from Butler and Curry. The second-seeded Rockets clinched home court advantage well before the end of the season and still chose to play their starters in the regular season finale, sending a message. With 52 wins, Houston is back in the playoffs for the first time since 2019 and did it with the youngest core in franchise history to hit that milestone. Their average age? Just 24.8 years old. This marks the 5th playoff meeting between the Rockets and Warriors over the past 10 years. Golden State has won all 4 previous series. During the 2024-25 regular season, the Warriors took 3 of 5 games against Houston. 3 storylines to watch. 1. Rising youth versus proven champions. What makes this 2 vs. 7 matchup so compelling is how narrow the gap really is. Only 4 wins separate these two teams in the standings, much closer than the typical gulf between a 2nd and 7th seed. While the Eastern Conference has the battle-tested Celtics facing off against a young Orlando squad, in the West, it's the lower-seeded Warriors who bring the playoff pedigree. Golden State's core, Curry, Green, and Kerr, has won 4 championships, and now they've added Jimmy Butler, bringing the total to 21 combined All-Star appearances. On the other side, Houston has just 1 All-Star selection this year, Alperen Sengun. Still, the Rockets aren't short on tough-minded veterans. Fred VanVleet, an NBA champion, and Dylan Brooks, a fierce defender, bring the kind of playoff experience Houston will need to lean on against this battle-hardened Warriors squad. 2. The rebounding war. Houston's biggest strength? Owning the glass. They lead the league in both total rebounds per game, 48.5, and offensive rebounds per game, 14.6, which is translated directly into scoring, topping the league in second chance points, 18.1 per game. Golden State, despite often playing small lineups with Draymond Green at center, has quietly held their own. They rank 5th in both total rebounds, 45.4, and offensive boards, 12.5. The big question, Will the Warriors stick to their small ball identity or adjust with bigger lineups to neutralize Houston's size advantage? 3. Two elite defenses collide. Since Jimmy Butler joined the Warriors, defense has been their calling card. Golden State has ranked first in defensive rating, 111.0, over that span. Draymond Green is firmly in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, and Butler was just named Defensive Player of the Month for March. Gary Payton, too, remains a key point of attack defender, and Moses Moody has stepped up significantly since entering the starting lineup. But Houston isn't far behind. Under head coach Ime Udoka, the Rockets finished the regular season 5th in defensive rating, 110.3. Dillon Brooks is a physical presence on the perimeter, and second-year standout Klay Thompson is one of the most active and effective young defenders in the league. Scouting the Rockets, what Golden State should expect. The Rockets have built their success on depth, rebounding, defense, and an identity shaped by Ime Udoka, a coach who took Boston to the NBA Finals in his first season. This Houston team may be young, but they play with structure, purpose, and edge. Alperen Sengun anchors their offense and does it all: scoring, rebounding, facilitating. He's one of only 4 players in the NBA this season to average 19-plus points, 10-plus rebounds, and 4-plus assists, joining the likes of Jokic, Giannis, and Sabonis. Alongside him is Jalen Green, Houston's electric shooting guard, who led the team in scoring at 21.0 points per game and played in all 82 games, a rarity among 20-point scorers this season. His durability and explosiveness will be key factors in this series. Final word. The Warriors may be the 7th seed, but don't let that fool you. With their championship DNA, elite defense, and a resurgent Jimmy Butler, they are far from underdogs. Meanwhile, the Rockets are young, hungry, and ready to prove they belong. This series has all the ingredients: talent, history, tension, for something special. Golden State has the experience. Houston has the energy. Only one moves on. What's at stake? For the Warriors, this postseason could mark the final chapter for one of the greatest cores in NBA history. With Curry at 37, Draymond approaching his mid-30s, and Klay Thompson's future uncertain as he heads toward free agency, there's a sense of urgency. This might be their last real shot at a title run together. Adding Jimmy Butler to the mix was more than a mid-season move. It was a win-now gamble designed to squeeze every drop of potential from a core that already owns 4 rings. The stakes are different, but just as high for Houston. This playoff run represents a defining moment in the Rockets' rebuild. After years of lottery picks, coaching turnover, and player development, they finally turned the corner. A strong showing, or even an upset over the Warriors, would signal to the league that Houston is not just a promising young team, but a legitimate threat in the Western Conference for years to come. Media buzz and fan reactions. As expected, this matchup has stirred conversations across the NBA landscape. Analysts on national platforms have pointed out the unusual dynamic of a no.7 seed entering the series as slight favorites among some insiders, largely because of Golden State's momentum since the All-Star break and the playoff pedigree of their stars. Social media has been buzzing with comparisons between the current Rockets and the 2012 Thunder, young, confident, and ahead of schedule. Meanwhile, Warriors fans are clinging to the hope that playoff Curry will rise again, while others are skeptical, pointing to the team's inconsistency early in the season and ongoing questions about depth beyond the core stars. Houston media, on the other hand, has embraced the underdog narrative. Head coach Ime Udoka's calm but confident demeanor has resonated with the fanbase, and the city is rallying behind this new generation. Fred VanVleet spoke to reporters earlier this week and emphasized that experience matters, but hunger does too, highlighting the team's desire to prove doubters wrong. Matchup to watch: Curry versus Brooks, again. One of the most anticipated subplots of this series is the renewal of the Stephen Curry versus Dillon Brooks rivalry. The two have a history of chippy moments and fiery back-and-forths, dating back to Brooks' time with Memphis. Brooks has already made headlines this week by calling the Warriors a team living in the past, a quote that will surely be revisited if Curry catches fire. Curry has historically torched Brooks in big moments, but the Rockets' wing has also had success throwing him off rhythm with physical defense. With Houston ranking top 5 in defensive efficiency and Brooks likely tasked with shadowing Curry full-time, this individual battle could swing a game, or the series. X factors and wild cards. Every playoff series has unsung heroes, and this one likely won't be any different. For Golden State, Jonathan Kuminga could be a game-changer. He's had multiple breakout performances against Houston this season and brings a level of athleticism and physicality that could help neutralize Houston's energy. On Houston's side, Klay Thompson is the wild card. His length, quickness, and defensive versatility give him the tools to impact the game even without scoring. If he can provide disruptive minutes off the bench and push the pace in transition, he might tilt a few crucial possessions in Houston's favor. Also worth watching, Klay Thompson's role. Will Steve Kerr lean on his experience, or will he shorten the rotation if Klay's struggles from deep continue? There's also the possibility of Tracy Jackson-Davis getting more minutes if Houston overwhelms Golden State on the glass. Looking ahead. Game 1 will set the tone, but don't expect this to be a short series. The contrast in styles, Golden State's methodical spacing and shot creation versus Houston's physicality, rebounding dominance, and youthful pace, makes for an unpredictable, high-stakes chess match. For now, the only certainty is this: the past meets the future on Sunday night in Houston. And only one will take control of the present. Thursday Talk. Drop your questions about Warriors versus Rockets. We've got a huge first-round series coming up, and things are about to get exciting. Happy Thursday, Dub Nation. The Golden State Warriors are enjoying a few much-needed days of rest after their dramatic play-in win over the Memphis Grizzlies on Tuesday night. And now, thanks to that clutch victory, the Dubs are officially heading into a first-round showdown against this year's surprise no. 2 seed, the young, explosive, and ultra-athletic Houston Rockets. Game 1 tips off Sunday night. With 83 games behind us and a high-stakes, 7-game battle ahead, it's the perfect time to open up the mailbag. I'm going to make this a weekly thing, yes, for real this time. I know I promised that before, but the chaos of the season got in the way. This time we're sticking with it, and it starts now. So here's the deal. Head to the comment section and drop any questions you've got about the Warriors. We'll definitely talk about the upcoming series against Houston, but don't hold back. Want to reflect on the wild season we just had? Wondering what the off-season could look like? Curious how the rest of the league might shake out? Let's talk about it all. I'll go through the questions and post the full mailbag Friday morning. Then, just 2 days later, we'll be watching the Warriors step back onto the playoff stage, ready to chase another postseason run. So let's get into it. Fire away, this is your space, Dub Nation. The Warriors are back where they belong, in the playoffs. There's something special about this time of year, and after a roller coaster regular season, the Warriors are back on the big stage, battle-tested and hungry. The journey hasn't been easy. From early injuries and lineup experiments to mid-season slumps and tough losses, this team has had to grind for every win. But that's exactly why they could be dangerous now. The play-in game against Memphis showed us a lot. Steph still has that killer instinct. Draymond can flip the switch defensively when it matters most. And the team's younger core, especially Brandon Podziemski and Jonathan Kuminga, isn't afraid of the moment. That mix of veteran grit and rising talent could be exactly what Golden State needs as they prepare to face a high-flying Houston team. The Rockets, a new threat in the West. Houston has been one of the biggest surprises of the season. After years of rebuilding, they've put together a fast, fearless group built around explosive young stars like Draymond Green, Alperen Sengun, and rookie sensation Klay Thompson. Combine that with the leadership of head coach Ime Udoka and the experience of veterans like Fred VanVleet, and you've got a team that's not just exciting, they're legit. The Rockets finished the regular season strong, locking up the 2nd seed and showing that their up-tempo, switch-heavy style can overwhelm teams on both ends. For the Warriors, this series isn't just about experience. It's about adjusting quickly, staying disciplined, and making every possession count. Playoff implications and pressure. Let's not sugarcoat it. This series could have massive implications for the future of the Warriors as we know them. With uncertainty looming around Klay Thompson's free agency, questions about the roster's long-term structure, and Steph Curry entering the back half of his career, every game matters. This postseason might be the last ride for this version of the core, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Meanwhile, a strong showing by the Warriors could reshape the narrative. Pulling off an upset against Houston wouldn't just extend their playoff run. It could rekindle belief that this team still has another championship run in them. Dub Nation's voice matters. That's why the mailbag is so important right now. Your thoughts, questions, and perspectives help shape the conversation around the team. Whether you want to debate rotation changes, predict matchups, or just vent about how your heart can't take another fourth-quarter meltdown, this is your time. Drop your questions in the comments, and I'll tackle as many as I can in Friday's edition. Let's keep the energy high, the conversations real, and the spirit of Dub Nation loud as ever. Because no matter how this series goes, one thing is certain, you don't bet against the heart of a champion. Let's go, Warriors.